Hey, what's up? This is Chosen, and this video is going to be a champion guide over the Faction Wars reward, Lydia, the Death Siren. I have finished Faction Wars, so I got her when she came out live, got her fully maxed out, booked up, and I've tested her a lot today, so I'm going to go ahead and let you know my thoughts on if she's worth the grind, if she's too OP, not OP enough. We're going to do a full deep dive into all that stuff for you, so let's get into it. Alrighty, so first things first, you'll see down on the bottom left of the screen, when you get 819 Faction War stars, you can go ahead and claim Lydia the Death Siren down here on the bottom right. This is what she looks like at level 1 when you click on that icon down there. Now, one thing worth noting is you can see here she has 100 speed, but when you get her fully 6-star plus 6 ascension, she gets 10 more speed. So she does go from 100 to 110. So if you get a little bit confused looking at that, sometimes champions get a bonus to their speed when they hit 6-star full ascension. And as a side note, it's always bothered me a little bit that there's no indication of that. Like, how is someone supposed to know that? So there should definitely be a little, like, ascension star or something next to the speed, showing that you get a bonus once you ascend them, because some champions get it and some don't. So I wish there was just something there to let the player know that that does exist. But let's go ahead and dive into the index here. We're going to Dark Elves, and then Lydia Death Siren is going to be the top right up here, the Void Affinity Support. Now remember, as always, my champion guides, I will have an infographic down in a pinned comment, so it's nice and easy to find. But for this one, I really want to make sure and hammer home, I say this every time, but do not blindly copy Masteries. Whether you see them on a website or in a video, do not blindly copy Masteries. There is a lot of different ways that you can build Lydia. I am simply putting this here so that you can see the Masteries that I used in the video in case you are curious. But there's lots of different ways to build Lydia. For example, if you're going to be using her in your clan boss team, you're going to want completely different Masteries than that. You're going to want to go down the offense tree, get War Master, and then probably the support tree. So you'll do like offense and support for clan boss. But that's just one example of why you never want to blindly copy Masteries. And with Lydia, I wanted to make sure I hammer that home extra long. But let's put that away and let's dive into the kit discussion here. Okay, so first of all, base stats. Pretty good. I'm happy with the base stats. I think the base resist should be 50 and the base accuracy should be 20. Other than that, the base attack should probably at least be 1,000. I mean, it would just look so much better if it was 1,000. It looks so bad at 900. And like I always tell you guys, the value of the damage stat, especially when it's attack, doesn't really mean a whole lot. It's all about the multiplier. Her multiplier seems it seems all right. I didn't really build her as a damage dealer, so I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think she's mainly a support. You're not going to really be building her as like a nuker. But her multipliers, just in my testing, seem pretty par for the course on what you would expect. She doesn't hit like super hard compared to what I thought, or super weak or anything. So yeah, all in all, the base HP very good at 20,800, and the base defense of almost 1,300 is very good, and then the base speed of 110 is awesome. So all in all, the base stats are pretty good. And now as we dive into the kit, it's going to get a little bit wordy, so hang in there with me. All right, we've got the A1 that does attack one enemy with a 75% chance that you can book to 100 of placing a fear debuff for 1 turn. And then we can also book a 100% chance of placing or increasing the duration of any poison sensitivity debuff for 1 turn. We've got a passive that attacks enemy champions with this skill, so she's going to use her A1 every time an enemy places a freeze, stun, fear, or true fear debuff on an ally. So if you're going up against CCers, you're going to be popping off, counter-attacking with this A1 a lot. The number of attacks increases according to how many debuffs are placed at that time. You'll do 1 for each of those debuffs. The first attack will target the attacker, and then any extra ones after that are going to attack a random enemy once. So yeah, basically, you're going to be getting a lot of your A1 counter-attacking popping off if the enemies are placing a bunch of these CC abilities in freeze, stun, fear, and true fear. Then we go to the A2. Siren's Wail. Now, this ability is the calling card of her kit, in my opinion. This is incredible. It's one of the best general utility abilities in the game. We've got something you can book to a 3-turn cooldown that is AoE, and you can book these chances to 100% of placing the big version of decreased defense, the big version of weaken, and then also 25% strengthen and 30% increased speed on all allies. So you not only have a really good ability of debuffing your opponents, but you also have a really good ability of buffing your allies. So this one they got right. This is the type of ability that a champion as difficult to acquire as Lydia, this is they got this one right. That's definitely a good A2. Then for the A3, we can book this to a 3-turn cooldown. This was a big thing. We didn't know if we were going to be able to book this to 4 turns or 3 turns. So it is cool that this books to 3 turns. It gives her a nice rotation. So then we got attack 1 enemy 2 times. The first hit, we can book this to a 100% chance of placing a 25% poison sensitivity for 2 turns. The second hit, we can book it to a 100% chance of placing a block buffs and a block cooldown skills debuff for 2 turns. Now, blocking buffs and blocking cooldown skills, that's a very good effect on the A3. We'll get into what I think about her kit in general after I finish up here. Then the passive denies enemy revive attempts. This works even if this champion is dead. If this champion is alive when the enemy is when the revive is denied, revives all dead allies with half HP and half turn meter, and then grants an extra turn instead if there are no dead allies. If this champion is dead, when an enemy revive is denied, it will revive Lydia with half HP and half turn meter. So and then the skill will ignore block revive. So basically, I had a situation in the arena where I had a Mortar Macabre do his ability where he killed me and blocked revive, and then I killed one of their teammates. And when they went to revive that teammate, they actually revived my Lydia, who was killed with a block revive ability. So this passive can definitely be game changing. It is very good. We'll talk about the whole kit in general here in a second. And then we've got the Aura, increase ally resist in the arena by 100. So definitely a cool Aura, because I think she is really good in sustained battles, a really reliable debuff, some snowballing with the A1 in terms of counterattacking, and then some blocking buffs and block cooldown skills with some block revives. So yeah, I think the Aura works here. Definitely a really good Aura. Okay, so now let's wrap up kind of how I feel about the kit. The A2, incredible. I would not change that. That is what it should be. The A1, I'm okay with. I think it's got some cool mechanics. It's got some CC, and it's got some counterattack built in as a passive. I can get on board with the A1. The A3 and the passive are where I think there needs to be a little bit of a change. Now, on the A3, I would either make this another AoE ability and then just make it block buffs and not block cooldown skills, or I would leave it as is but give it ally cleanse, like remove all debuffs from all allies. That way you get a little bit of ally utility, because you're gonna be like, okay, the thing is, in the arena, if you go first, then yes, she's a great debuffer. She's gonna place she's gonna break defense and place a weaken, and then on top of that, she's gonna buff your team. So that's great. But the problem is, if you go first, there's 10,000 different ways to win. Like, you're not, like, I don't think you're really getting Lydia to benefit an endgame player's nuke strategies. Like, if they go first and they want to do defense break and burst down the enemy team, there's ways they can already do that. I don't think you're getting Lydia. Someone who can finish Faction Wars isn't getting Lydia for that purpose, to be a speed team debuffer nuker. So I would like to see her have some buff manipulation, either like remove all buffs from all enemies, or cleanse all debuffs from all allies. I think she needs some sort of buff manipulation on her A3 here if the passive is going to have this long of a cooldown. I would do one or the other. I would give the A3 some buff manipulation, either against her opponents or for her allies, or I would lower the cooldown on this block revive, because it's just too long. Like revivers can do it every 3 or 4 turns, sometimes 5 turns. I mean, this is even booked at 7, so they're gonna be in a long battle. They're gonna be getting those revives off, and then once Lydia's not blocking revive and she has no buff manipulation, that means she's not really filling a role in a team that is gonna be going second, because you need cleanse, you need buff removal, you need damage, you need tankiness, you need sustain, you need lots of things. And yes, she provides buffs, but in a team that's going to be going second or fighting in a really long battle in the arena, if she's not blocking revive and she's not doing buff manipulation for either team, I have run into times where, and not rarely, like pretty often, where I just don't feel like I'm getting a whole lot of value out of Lydia, and I find myself going back to like my old team, where I've got Tormund and Hawkhorn and Saris and Ignatius or Sir Nick, because I can cover all the bases. I can have my cleanse, I can have my buff strip, I can have my tankiness, my CC. I've got all the bases covered. Putting Lydia in for one of my defense team rosters, it makes it hard to fill all those roles, because she's also not a damage dealer. Like, I would be okay with leaving her the way she is, but maybe make her bump her attack up, bump her base attack up to 1100 and leave her multipliers the same. Make her hit a lot harder so she can fill the damage role at the same time as getting some of this other stuff off in terms of buffing your team and debuffing the enemy team. So yeah, definitely a really, really good champion. It's just like someone who can finish faction wars. They don't really need a really good general utility champion. They need an insane PvP champion, because somebody who can finish faction wars is speed farming dungeon 20 of every dungeon. They're getting the max clan boss key very easily, probably in Ultra Nightmare, and obviously they have finished faction wars. So admittedly, we don't see the Doom Tower out yet. Maybe she's going to be insane in the Doom Tower. She probably is going to be very good there, so that will help her value when the Doom Tower comes out. But right now, as it sits, I think she needs just a little bit of love. She's very good, but people that can beat faction wars don't need a very good general champion. They need a PvP rock star. So that's kind of the general sentiment of her kit. Now let's dive into the gearing process and how I got my Lydia built. Okay, so here we are at my Lydia, and first of all, if you are curious on the stats of mine, here we go. 51,000 HP, 2,300 attack, 3,800 defense, 231 speed. I didn't build her as a damage dealer, so I'm not really worried about the crit and the crit damage. Resistance of 200 and accuracy of 367. So when we dive into the gear, I went with relentless and speed. I want her to be high speed. I want her to crank through those turns to get a bunch of those A1s off, to get as much CC as she can, and then get that cooldown of her block revive back online as soon as possible. So I want her to be cycling through faster than her opponents. Relentless is going to help with that as we pop off extra turns. Then in terms of the gearing, Banner, you're probably gonna want accuracy most of the time. She needs to be landing that CC, and then the defense breaks and the weakens and all that value. So accuracy Banner most of the time is going to be great on her. The amulet, defense, HP, with your best blend of accuracy and resistance. And then the ring, lots of different ways you can go. You just want to get basically as much stat as possible. For the boots, I think it's almost always going to be speed boots. You don't really want her to be a slow champion. So yeah, speed with your best blend of accuracy, resistance, HP, defense, attack, all the good stats in the game. Then we've got on the chest, lots of different ways you can go with Lydia. You can build her as strictly tough, as like a 0 DPS support champion utility. But I wanted to throw attack on there because this was my best speed piece that had accuracy and resistance with speed on it and made sense. Then we've got the relentless set, again similar to the chest. Lots of different ways you can go on the gloves. These are defense here to make her tanky. Got a nice blend of defense and attack, so she can lose some damage, but also bump up that defense. And then the top ones are pretty self-explanatory. Again, you're looking for your best blend of attack, HP, defense, res, accuracy, really all the stats in the game she can benefit from. So you just want to get your best gear as possible on her, basically, in terms of what should be on her for these top 3 slots here. But those are mine in case you were curious. So now let's dive into the booking process. Very unfortunate that she does take 15 books. That's a lot. I don't like it when they go over about 11 or 12 on the legendary books for champions, because they're very hard to acquire and they're very expensive. So I mean, you've already invested so much to get a champion in this game. It's very expensive to summon and to participate in things in this game. Expecting people to spend $100 worth of books on one champion is pretty brutal. So I don't agree with her being 15 books. I know she should be a lot because she's very good. I would have capped it out at like 12 and called it good. But all of the books are pretty impactful, and Lydia is a pretty good champion. So yeah, you're not really gonna go wrong with booking her, and there really isn't a whole lot of min-maxing because you're getting very impactful cooldowns on the passive, and then you want a good rotation. You want to get these both the 3 turns, and then the A1, I guess if you really want, you could try to save, but it is nice to get the 100% proc chance on your CC here. So the books are all pretty impactful on her. I just wish it wasn't quite so many. I would have liked to see it capped at about 11 or 12 instead of 15. And then for the Masteries, remember, like I said earlier in the video, there is an infographic that will show them in a pinned comment if you want to be able to pull that up. But also remember, don't blindly copy my Masteries. This is the first build that I tested with her. I went with Oppressor as the tier 6. She places a lot of debuffs. She does it on her A1. She does it on her 3-turn cooldown A2. She's placing a bunch of debuffs, and I want her to cycle through her turns as fast as possible to get the block revive online as quick as I can. That was my first thought process in testing her. And obviously you're probably going to want lasting gifts and Hexer. She gets a lot of value out of the support tree, so that's a very good choice. And then you can go offense or defense depending on the build you're using her for, whether it's clan boss or arena. You can kind of pick and match to get whatever optimal for your build. But now let's get into the arena and show you her in action and make some things happen. All right, so we dive in here and we'll talk about kind of just constructing a team around Lydia. So, okay, there's a few different ways you can go here. Now, I like to use her in a setup that is designed to be defensive, to play a long fight, to absorb and then retaliate. So I don't really want to use her as a go first team. If I'm gonna do that, I might as well just, you know, do a nuke team with my Trunda and use somebody to debuff them and blow them up. So I like to use her in my defense setup to make it a little bit easier to compete in the speed meta. Now the aura is great. She's gonna pair well with high resist champions, so anybody like a Duchess or a Mountain King, anybody that does not need accuracy can refine. Champions that their value has nothing to do with accuracy, you can stack resistance on them, and then Lydia will give them a bonus 100, which is a ton. So Lydia is an amazing champion for retaliation, high resistance teams. That is a great niche for her. But yeah, this is kind of the type of team that I would set up around her. I've got Saris for the buff strip because Lydia does not bring it. Sathalia would be a great pick here as well because we don't really need the defense break that Saris provides because Lydia will be doing it. But Saris does have a lot of other utility, and I've got her speed tuned right to fit into this team. Bado, I've got him in an immunity set, so he will be able to be my cleanser when we absorb what they do. Bado will scoop us back up and get us back online. He's my high-speed immunity cleanser. And then Mountain King is in a shield set to help us survive what the enemy does. We just have to really be careful of enemy strippers, but the resistance will help with that because we don't want to get Bado losing the immunity set and everybody losing the shields that the Mountain King is providing on them. So I'll show you kind of what Lydia looks like in action here. All right, boom, and we're actually going to go first. So this is where really why you need a good stripper, is because you're going to come through and remove all that stuff, and now that is super impactful. Then Bad is going to debuff and poison, and then Lydia is going to prioritize her AI on the Siren's Wail, place all those beacons and hit everybody, and then now we're in a kind of sustained fight, and I can just kind of auto this and let it roll. Now when you get into a situation like this where you kind of stabilize, Lydia in a really good relentless set and cranking out turns and all the value that she brings is going to be really good. There you see the lock cooldown skills, the fear, the leech, the block buffs, like the poison sensitivity pairing with Bad who places a bunch of poisons. Once you get rolling and you get in a setup like this where you've kind of like handled the first initial surge of the enemy, Lydia is a very good champion. It's just finding a way to get your team to absorb what they're going to do and be able to survive long enough to get enough value. And as long as you're not going up against really good revive teams, Lydia should do just fine, but her cooldown is a little bit too crazy to reliably beat like those Arbiter and Duchess teams that have all the double revives and stuff. So we'll keep kind of showing you Lydia in action here. I wanted to try her with the immunity cleanser Bad because of the poison sensitivity that she's placing on people. I thought it'd be cool to kind of use Bad as my immunity cleanser. And then this is kind of a high HP team, so I thought I would get a little bit more value than normal out of the continuous heals and really be able to sit here and sustain. You can also try a different immunity cleanser in that spot. Hawkhorn Smashlord is someone I use pretty commonly in the arena, but I've definitely seen some success with this team here, and I think it could get me pretty close to kind of the edges of Platinum, especially if I manualed it. So there we go. And boom, okay, and then, because right now we're up at like 3,700. Let's see what we can do against. So this is kind of a tougher team here. So they've got a bunch of CC, and they've got buff strip in Ray, and they've also got revive. So this is a time where I would probably Bad L is gonna have higher resistance than no, I would go my high resistance Hawkhorn is what I would do. Yep. So I've got Hawkhorn right here built at 378. Now if I'm going up against a buff stripper team, I would swap in Hawkhorn with that resistance aura. He's gonna be insane. Mountain King's gonna help me survive the nukes of the Foley if he does not get frozen. But I'm not actually using the Torment, so that won't help there. I would probably swap in a Torment here. He's a good pick. The Hawkhorn. I don't really need strip versus this team, so this would be a good fight here. We'll just put it on auto and let it ride and see kind of how the AI does this here. The freezes throwing him off, but that was some pretty good RNG, but the Torment freezes there. Hawkhorn doing his thing, and then boom. So this is once we stabilize. This is where once you get to here with Lydia, she's extremely good, extremely powerful. It's just it's getting to that point. It's getting a team set up effectively to really absorb what they're gonna do, and then just start popping off and cycling through turns and cranking out more value than your opponent over the course of a long fight. And there was the denied thing pop up there. So that was a fun fight there, and that's kind of something that would be standard that you would see me kind of doing on stream when I'm farming the arena. I would sit here and be like, okay, make a couple swaps, and then we go in and auto and just kind of let it ride. So that's kind of like how I would farm up at like the higher tiers of Gold 4. And just for the memes, I will show you Lydia farming 12-3 here, just so you can kind of see her in action, kind of get a feel for how hard she hits compared to your campaign farmer. Remember, I don't have her geared to do any damage really, so honestly, she's hitting pretty decent. Like, you know, to a non-crit to do 11k and hit him for what she is, being built to not do damage, isn't that bad. So it makes me think her multiplier is at least like average. But I just don't think she's gonna shine as being built as like a nuker or something. I think a lot of her utility is being a support and being built to be tough, accurate, with high resistance, and getting those type of stats instead of doing damage. But I wanted to play this so you could at least see her and kind of compare how she does versus champions that you commonly see as damage dealers in campaign stages. And then normally this is the part of the video where I would go in and pull up the reviews and get her graded for you live on stream. Not live on stream. I already did it live on stream, so that's why I can't do it. I can't pull that up and go through it live. But I do have her added to my tier list, so you can kind of get an idea of the grades there. And my tier list is designed to reflect general value in terms of having that champion on your account, and it tries to encompass all players. So Lydia does grade out incredible. Like in terms of general usefulness, she's amazing. The problem, like I said earlier, is I have a couple issues with how viable she is in the arena, in the end game. I think we already walked through it. I think maybe do one of a couple things, either giving her more buff utility or lowering the cooldown of the passive and kind of giving her some love in that regard, or making her scale with defense or HP instead of attack, and making her able to do a little bit more reliable damage. So I think there's a couple different routes that could go in terms of really bumping up her value in PvP, but she is definitely good. I showed you her in the arena. You can get very good value out of her. She is a very good champion. I'm not going to sit here and talk trash on her and say, you know, oh, Faction Wars is worthless, don't do it, just because I think she could probably use a little bit of love in endgame PvP, but she's very good. I think they got it mostly right. There's just a couple, like maybe one minor tweak I would do, and she would be great in my opinion. So I think they're trending in the right direction on where exactly she should be, and hopefully they make just a small tweak within the next month or two and get her right into line with where she should be. But she's definitely a really solid champion, and in terms of overall usefulness, she grades out right there at the top. So yeah, guys, I would really love to hear your input on this, because obviously Lydia's a hot topic in the community. and a lot of people are going to be kind of diving into testing her, and we're going to see how this evolves. I'm trying to get you guys information as fast as I can and get a champion guide out there, get a resource out there about her. So yeah, it's kind of, she's a champion that I really want to hear your input on, and especially those of you out there that are testing her, I would or have her already, I would really like to hear kind of your thoughts on if you agree or disagree with me, all that type of stuff. So let me put this away, and remember, I do have the infographic, but be careful on copying Masteries. Lydia is definitely one that can be built multiple different ways, so be careful on doing that. I want to make sure and mention that a couple times. So that's gonna do it for this one, guys. As always, thank you for watching. Have a good rest of your day. Peace.